Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, the podcast aimed to inspire you to find your voice and become the best, truest, and most authentic version of yourself. Spiritually intimate, soul-to-soul conversations, life-changing insights, and spiritual teaching and healing. Real, raw, unfiltered. Join your host, Tisha Michelle.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Seeing with Your Soul with me, your host, Tisha Michelle. So around here, you guys know, well, unless you're new, you're going to find out now. I love to start off by expressing some gratitude. So for me, in the present moment, I would say that I am grateful for just like the way like the universe just whispers in my ear and whispers to my heart and gives me that gentle reminder that everything's going to be okay. And I just recently had an experience with my car and I needed to get it towed. And I was like, didn't know what was going to happen with it. How much was this going to cost? How long was it going to take? But I felt okay. I didn't have the answers to any of that, but there was a strong, gentle like hug that it was all going to be okay. Like, you don't have to worry about any of that. And even when the tow person told me that I was going to have to wait an hour and a half to get, a driver to me, I was like, okay, all right. And they was like, are you going to wait at the car? I'm like, yeah. Now there was people I could have called, to pick me up and then have to come back. But I just said no. And I grabbed my notebook and there was a list that I needed to create. And then after that, I texted one of my clients and I just said, hey, something, came up. I actually have time now if you wanted to do your session early. And he said yes. And it was perfect. So I sat in the car and I did an hour session and, it went over a little bit. And then about 10-15 minutes later, the tow person was showing up and just took care of that. And I just knew that everything was going to be okay. So I'm super grateful for getting like this, like it really feels like a nice hug. And, you're looking around like no one's hugging you, but you just feel good and you just feel like everything is going to be okay. So that's what I would say that in this present moment that I am really grateful for. So now your turn. So unless you are driving, let's go ahead. Let's get chill and just, close your eyes. And I want you guys to take a nice deep breath and I just want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Another nice deep breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. All right, one more, a nice deep breath. I'm just going to be breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. I know you guys feel good. Just taking those couple of seconds to just center and just get grounded and just relax, right? So what are you all grateful for in this present moment? What are you grateful for? Say it out loud. Say it in your head. You can pause me and you can go ahead and journal this. Just express it. Express what you're grateful for. When there's something small, when there's something big, there's a conversation. You're grateful that you just woke up today. Grateful that you've actually made the time. I'm not even going to say have, but made the time to just listen to a podcast right now. Whatever it is dear to you. Express that. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. All right. Well, happy March. Bruh, how we get here already? I remember being in the beginning of the pandemic and it's like, oh my God, how long is this going to last? What is going on? And wait, and we're here a year later. I'm like, wow, we are in freaking March. My retreat, it's in May. I remember when it had to get rescheduled because of COVID. And I was like, till next year? Like, this is stupid. This is what I'm thinking. I'm like, this is just stupid. This is just dumb. Hello, it's here now though, like so crazy. And also speaking of retreats, last year I was going to have the retreat to Bali, but also that had to get rescheduled. I got the info now and it's going to be September 2nd through the 8th. So I'm putting everything because I've made some changes. It's actually going to be a lot better. So I'm kind of glad, not that I'm happy about COVID, but I am glad that it did get pushed back because it allowed me to put a little more into it. And this is going to be so dope, so amazing. So I will have some of that stuff. I will have that that all together to put out and get out on the website. But for right now, if it's just even sparking something to you, like, hey, I want some more, information on Bali, I can give you some of the raw information. It won't be all the pretty graphics and all that good stuff, but I can give you the straight raw information. Just go on to Instagram, at Mindset Slayer, and just send me a message and say, hey, I would like some info on Bali, and I will get that over to you. All right. So what are we going to talk about today? Now I know what we're going to talk about. So, I believe that experience is the greatest teacher, right? And you experience something and then you talk about it. And before, I used to come from a place of, I don't want to tell people my business. I don't tell people my business. Even my children would say that I was very secretive. And I'm like, whatever, people don't need to be in my business, whatever business this was, right? But, deep down, there's still that part of you that feels like people are going to judge you, or, you may want people to think that your life is perfect. And, heaven forbid, if people even knew that you were remotely human and you went through challenges just like the next person, like, oh my God, what are they going to think about you? So all those things go into it. So you don't really share. And then, when you come from a place of like, this is what you do, where you're helping, guiding other people, sometimes people also feel like they don't want to share their information because other people may think, oh my God, you're not going to be able to help me because you jacked up. But that's just the ego trying to keep you safe, from quote unquote failing or from feeling a certain way. So it's not going to even allow you to put yourself into, a position like that. But in actuality, being that experience is the greatest teacher, and we teach what we most need to know, that when you are experiencing and going through things, that it is important to share it. It is important to, and not from a place of like, let me tell you my business. It's like, let me share this experience that I had and let me show you how I was able to get through it, how I was able to overcome it, or how I'm still in it. And that's okay. I'm still giving myself grace as I am learning, and being guided myself to get through this. So which leads me to want to talk about this. And everything that I'm going to share with you, I've already gotten permission from my daughter. And this is my 15-year-old. It's so funny. I said to her, I was like, I feel like I need to talk about this on the podcast, which is actually very different and new for me because I do open up and talk to you guys, but I don't really go into like stuff like I'm about to tell you, in there. So it's a little different. But I was driving in the car and just minding my business driving, and me and my daughter were together and was listening to music, and I just heard you need to talk about this on the podcast, and I'm like, what? Nah. And in my mind, I was like, she's not going to be okay with that. And while you still are meant to share your story because it's your story, when it involves other people, you're like, well, I don't want them to feel a certain way, but it's your story, right? But it was a little different for me, however, it was a little different for me because this story involves my daughter, who is a child, and I'm going to always respect her privacy and just respect, it's her experience as well. So when I heard it the second time, I said, I'm getting a message that I need to talk about this on the podcast and talk about what has been happening with you. And I said, how do you feel about that? And she said, that's fine. She said, you can talk about it. She said, it's a part of my story. And I'm like, oh my God, like kind of teared up a little bit because it's like, wow, like how dope, of her. She's 15 and she's like, she's not embarrassed, by anything. And she's like, it's it. So then I said, well, maybe you should get on the podcast with me. She's like, now you're going too far. I was like, respect, right? So unless you're new to me and this is your first time, again, welcome. Something that I'm always talking about is the relationship between your childhood and now. So I say, if you want to understand who you are and you want to know really why you do the things you do, then you do need to revisit your childhood. Because where you are in this present moment, there's still that wounded little girl and that wounded little boy that's inside of you that just got older and got bigger in size, but is still hurt and still operating from a place of not really having much discernment because you just know how you felt when you were a child and because you felt like that. And no one really made sense of it to you because other people were just in their own world or they were and having their experience and their journey, and they may not even really realize some of those things, right? So I'm always showing people that relationship between your childhood and who you are now. And when you can see that connection and recognize that pattern, we can then, reprogram the brain so we can get out of that story. that story that you're still in, because you're stuck in the story. And this story says, no one loves me, I'm not enough, coming from that place. So then it just, you start to adapt and you start to operate from that place, right? So my daughter, she's 15, and I guess I'll be pretty detailed in this just to kind of really paint the picture and to really just to explain. So, I have 4 children. 3 of them are with my ex-husband. Then I have my youngest, right? So me and my ex-husband were childhood sweethearts. You know that shit, childhood sweethearts. We got married at 21, right? Yes, surprising to some of you, your girl was married and divorced. So, we were together from when we were 16 and we got married at 21. Then I went into the military. So we ended up separating and I ended up getting a divorce. So we had the first 2 children and then I got a divorce. And then while I was divorced, we ended up conceiving Destiny. That's my 15-year-old. We ended up conceiving her, right? Ass backwards, right? It's like, wait, what just happened? But that was it. It was just to conceive her. Not like we woke up and said, hey, I want to have another kid. Let's do this together. No, that's not how it happened. It happened. And I didn't expect it. He didn't expect it. Not meaning like we didn't expect to have a child. We didn't even expect to do anything in that sense. But that was it. We had a child. And I always just look back and I was like, that's crazy. I'm like, yeah, she chose us to be her parents, like straight up. And this is even before I had my spiritual awakening to really understand that as a soul, like we do that, we choose our parents. And that's a whole other conversation, whole other podcast. So we have Destiny. And like I said, we're already divorced. So there was a lot of from an early age with her because we weren't together. Like we were divorced. We weren't living with each other. It was just, we just had this kid. Like, what the fuck? And I'll be honest. And what I'm saying on here, he already knows because I said it to him. I didn't even like his ass. I was like, yo, I don't even like you. So our younger 2, our oldest 2, they had him around, in the picture because, again, we were together, we were married, and that was that. So some of that foundation was already laid with them, but that foundation wasn't laid with her. And I would always say to him, she's going to have problems. And this is me and him talking. I'm like, she's being affected by this because she doesn't have that relationship with you like the other ones. But he always brushed it off. He always brushed it off as if it was just me, like it was just me talking and just me saying that. But there was a lot of disappointment. Like, she turned 2 and, he was supposed to be coming to the birthday party and he's coming. I'm living in VA, he living in PA, and not showing up. And he wouldn't show up. And here we go again. Here's the story. I'm coming, I'm getting them, and then not show up, right? So then there will be the little bit of the acting out. And who has to deal with it? Mommy, because I'm the closest, right? And I would say this, and he just was not getting it. And then one day, I don't remember her age. She was young though. She was in elementary school. And she would always cough like, the fuck? I'm like, why is she always doing that? And I'm like, yo, something's not right. So I'm getting her checked out at the doctor, having them check her lungs, and she's doing it. Then I even had a teacher, was like, she's always doing this, and, sends me a letter. And I said, well, how do you think she feels? It may be annoying to you and it could be quote unquote disruptive in the class, but how do you think she feels? So I'm not going to lie. It was very annoying to me as well, because I'm like, yo, why do you keep coughing? Like, I'll keep it 100. I'm pretty sure I probably said that to her, like, stop coughing, And so one of her pediatrician, at the time, it was an older man, and he was like, okay, so I'll pause, rewind. Before that, she was always getting sick. Always sick. And I remember saying to her doctor, I said, there has to be something going on with her immune system. I'm like, there has to be something going on with her immune system because it's like she's always sick. And he was a doctor that was very thorough and actually includes the parent in their child's, healthcare plan. And he's like, I hear you. So he ran these tests and he said, you know what, you're right. He was like, so she had been getting the immunizations and they didn't take. It didn't take. None of it was in her system. So she was just wide open, just getting sick. So she had to see a hematologist. So that same doctor, I took her there and I said, she still has this cough. I don't know what this is. And I said, I don't know what's going on, but there's something with this cough. So he said, you know what? I want you to go see this specialist. And he said, I think I know what this is, but I want you to go see. He didn't tell me what he thought it was. He said, I want you to go see this specialist. So we go to see the specialist and he's asking me these questions. And sometimes they're asking you your family shit and it makes you feel a little uncomfortable, even if you don't have anything to hide. But who wants to have people once again all up in your business, right? So he says, so who's at home? Like, who's in the house? And I'm like, it's just me and like your siblings. And he's like, what about like dad? And I'm like, no, we don't live together. We're not together. And I don't remember other questions and stuff. Okay. So she's not in the room when we're talking. So then he goes and we're in the room and he starts to examine her. He says, and take a deep breath and all these things. No coughing. He has her taking these deep breaths in and out, no coughing. So then he's talking and then he says something about her dad. And she goes, and then he looks at me and I'm like, holy fuck, right? If you have an issue with your lungs or something of that sort, and the doctor is having you take deep breaths in and deep breaths out, you'll cough because that's what she keeps coughing. Well, what he said it is, he said it's a habit cough. And he did a whole study thing on there. And what it was it's like a coping mechanism, right? And there, because of the relationship, the lack of the relationship with her father and the disappointment that was already laid down as a foundation, she started developing this habit cough. And that's what it was. And it was around there. So the brain is fascinating. Just life itself is fascinating. So I was like, oh my God. So of course, naturally, I'm like, I told you, she did not have you and you keep doing that and it's going to affect her and it's affecting her. And when I was having this conversation, I wasn't saying this in front of her. Remember, I'm very secretive with the kids. So this is a conversation we having. So it's not like she's listening to me saying that it's going to affect her. And I'm planting that. That wasn't the case at all. He still didn't want to hear it in that sense, right? So then there was, still the disappointment. And then she went to a phase where she would be with her dad and she would not leave from his side at all. And her, my in-laws and stuff would be like, call me and they would be teasing about it. And they'd be like, she is up under her daddy. Nobody can't do nothing with her daddy. They can't talk to him. She got to go everywhere, in that sense. So it was that thing where she was then trying to hold on tight, to him. And then she started acting out being like, just take me back home. I want to go with my mom, and they would call me and they'd be like, her siblings would call me and be like, can you talk to Destiny? Because she's acting like this towards dad. She's acting like that towards dad, like, or whatever. And then I want to say she was in maybe early middle school. And I think I had checked her phone for something, or it was something on her phone. I wasn't like looking for something, but there was like, you know what? I could just be making this shit up, to be honest. No, I'm not making it up, but I don't remember what happened with her phone. But at the time, it was before it was TikTok. It was a video, and she was doing a video where you like lip sync. And the lip sync was like, quote unquote curse words and talking about like weed or like smoking. And she's just like mimicking it. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? This is not, this is one of those, this is not my child. Like, what the hell? And then I seen like there was a watch in there. And I'm like, this is her sister's Michael Kors watch that she got for graduation. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then there was like this, I seen this note, and there was a note, and not a note, but on the paper, it said something about like, I want to kill myself. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I wish I could remember what age she was. And I'm like, what the hell? And mind you, this is all pre my awakening. This is before I was consciously awakened to understanding like the traumas and the connections and spirit and all of that stuff. This is before this. I'm like, yo, what is going on? So I'm talking to her and she's like, no, I don't want to kill myself. I don't know why I wrote that. And I'm like, okay. And I'm telling her dad. And this time her older sister told her dad and told him what was going on. And he was like, I already know what this is all about. This is my fault. And he was like, I'm moving down there. Mind you, he had been saying that he was going to move to Virginia at the time for 2 years. He was going to move. It was 2 years. I'm coming to be closer to them. And he just never did it. But then when she was telling him that, he was like, I already know it. That's my fault. I'm coming. So he moves down here. So I'm like super proud of him. I'm like, okay, this is all right. Well, when he moves down here, he's like, and they build this relationship with them more. And now I want to paint this part. It's not that he's just been an absent dad and he's never been like, his sister is that passed away, is my best friend. I'm super close with the family. We're very involved. He just didn't live here. And it was more of and this is again, not to make an excuse. This is also when we look at our parents and we be like, you were a horrible parent. You were this or you were that. And this is just awful. Now, we don't want to give anybody a pass because you get to make choices. And, when the choices that we make and the decisions, they all have consequences with them. However, at the same time, our parents and even like as kids are dealing with their own stuff that they're not even really fully aware. So they don't wake up in the morning and say, my intention is to be a shitty mother. My intention is to be a shitty father. My intention is to disappoint you. It's just that in that moment, you're choosing yourself. And I will be the one to say that we are the most important person in our life. And we have to come first, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of our children. And there's a difference between putting yourself in a space, putting yourself first, where it's all about you, and you know that these choices and decisions can affect and hurt a child. That's a difference. There's a difference, right? So again, he didn't wake up and say, oh, I'm going to disappoint my kids. He just wasn't making the connection because he didn't think that it would affect them. And why did he not think that it would affect them? Most people don't think that either, but it does. So he moves to Virginia. And I'm even like low-key like, yo, I'm proud of him. But when he moves here, he ends up moving this girl that he was seeing in the house with him with all of her kids. Wait a minute. You moved here to build a relationship with your daughter, and then you move this girl in the house with all of her kids. Where is the time for that? Where's the time for your daughter? And then she didn't want to spend the night over there. She thought it was going to be one thing, but guess what? It was another disappointment, right? So her foundation that's being laid is based off of disappointment. And what does that say? I'm not good enough. Why don't you want me? Why don't you love me? Why aren't you coming to see me? Why are you choosing other people over me? That's what, as a child, that's what they're feeling. That's what she was feeling. And I'm not speaking this by just saying this. These are words that she eventually said to me. Right. So there was that. And then we moved to Arizona, and she went through her little spout where she was so excited about going. Then she was just like, I don't want to be here. I want to go back to Virginia. This is your journey and this is not my journey. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, oh my God. And it was this whole thing, but really what it was, because she was homeschooled, she just wanted to meet some friends. So we worked that out. I enrolled her into school there. So she's like, okay, I met some friends. I don't need to be here anymore, and went back to homeschool. And I get it. The socializing is different and the homeschool is amazing, but she's also in a new state and she doesn't have any friends. She only has the people in Virginia that she was talking to or whatever. So, she's connected with some people and stuff. So then one day I don't remember which one happened first, but dang. You know what? Okay, this is what it was. So she asked me could she spend the night at one of her friend's house. And I was like, that's cool. The mom texted me and said that was okay. Fine. So she goes to spend there. They pick her up and she goes to spend the night out. And I might have talked about this on a podcast too, but I didn't tell that part, but it was another part about your intuition. So I'm laying on the bed and I'm on the phone and something says, go get a smoothie. And I'm like, I don't want a smoothie. I don't even want to leave out of the house. But it was like, go get a smoothie from McDonald's. Well, why the fuck would I do that? If anything, I'm going to tropical smoothie, right? So I get dressed and I'm like, whatever. So I just get dressed because I'm very obedient when it comes there, because I know how spirit talks to me. And even though I don't know why, I listen. Okay. I go to get the smoothie and I get the smoothie, go through the drive-thru, come out of McDonald's, and I get to the stop sign. Something says, look to the left. I look to the left, and who do I see? My daughter and her friend walking. The same daughter that was supposedly picked up from her friend with her friend and her friend's mom to go spend the night. I rolled the window down. I say, get your ass in the car. Her friend too. Our friend gets in the car and it's like, yo, where you live? You even know this girl, where you live? And I go and drop her off. And I'm like, okay, that's why Spirit told me to go get the smoothie. Had I had not gotten that smoothie, I would have just been in the house thinking that she was going to her friends and that's where she was staying. And she's out in the streets, walking, wherever the fuck she was walking, right? I'm like, yo, what is going on? So we go through our whole thing. So then something else comes up. So she's had people, you can't spend the night. They can spend the night here. They can spend the night here, but the way the condo is in Arizona is like a separate thing. She can just close her door and then it's just, she's in her room. It's like, I can't even really describe it. Just picture just her room and the door's closed. We over here doing our thing. Living room in the middle, then the other bedrooms. And I don't remember what even happened with this, but it was something that just didn't seem right, like with her or off. And I went in her room to get something. And when I went in her room to get something, literally Spirit's like, look to the left. And I see her drawer open and there's all these bottles of like alcohol. What the fuck? It ain't no like, honey, let me talk to you. At this point, I just fucking checked out. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill this girl. Right. So this is what it is. And I'm like, yo, this shit is wild. Like in my home, you start going through those different phases and shit. Right. So I'm like, oh, in my house? Like, this is crazy. Here I am talking about like, no, you can't spend the night out, but they could stay here because then you're in the house. And I'm like, what the hell? No difference. So we just get into it. And she wasn't even at the house actually at the time. And I'm like, get your butt home. And then she texted me and she was like, that's the matter of fact, that's what it was. She was actually spending the night out. That was when I had lifted it and let her spend the night out. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I got to let this all come to me, right? This really wasn't something more as me like this, and I'm going to talk about this. I want to really just like let it flow. So I texted and I was like, yo, get home, get your ass home, make your way home now. And she said something in the message was like, no, I'm just going to let things calm down. I'm just going to stay here. And I was like, Destiny? And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I said, Destiny, if you don't get your fucking ass home, it's going to be a big problem. I will have cops at everybody's fucking house that I know of yours, because I'm livid at this point, right? Okay, so, she comes home and, we go through our whole big thing and I'm like, yo, I don't even know what I even said, but I was like, yeah, you're done. You're sleeping in here. I made her ass sleep in the bed with me. I was like, nope, because I don't even fucking trust you, because she had, without going into the whole thing of that, because just to get to this other part, she had been sneaking out, right? She had been sneaking out. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, yeah, you got to sleep next to me. And in the midst of this, I'm already just new to Arizona and really trying to figure my way out there. I'm still guiding and having sessions with people and still dealing with my own stuff. And now I have this with like my daughter and I'm like, what the fuck? So then we fast forward and I'm in Virginia because I'm in Virginia, but I left her in Arizona because I came to get my youngest son, and I left her in Arizona with her brother, with my oldest son. So I'm at my mom's house and we're sleeping, and something, I was like, I don't ever put my phone on like vibrate when I go to bed, because I'm like, what if it's an emergency and I don't hear it? But I be always wanting to put it on vibrate, on like, silent or whatever, so bad, because I already have a hard time sleeping, and your phone goes off and shit like that. And I said, screw it. I was like, I probably shouldn't, but I did. I put it on vibrate. First time putting it on vibrate, and I go to sleep. And then I hear my mom's phone go off, and I hear her saying, what? The person, she has it on speaker, and I jump up and my heart racing, and it's a police officer in Arizona calling and saying, we have your daughter. She was caught drinking and underage, and we need to reach someone. And I'm halfway asleep and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, where's her brother? Well, this was a crazy part too. He's always up late. Him and his household of people are always up late. And this one time they all go to sleep early. I'm like, how ironic is that? So they're calling the number that she gave, but he's not answering because he's asleep. And at this point, it's probably like 1 or 2 in the morning there, I think. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm all the way in Virginia. I don't have family there. I have one friend that's there. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I'm calling her, and she's not answering. Then she finally answers. And I'm like, oh my God, Janine. I was like, there's a police officer. They have Destiny. They need to bring her somewhere. If not, they're going to take her to juvie. And in my mind, I was like, fuck it. Just fucking take her ass to juvie, and she's just gonna have to stay there for 2 days until I get there, because she has no business of that. Then the other part that pops into my head was, I had a client, this is for another thing that I work with as a CASA, working with the courts and with children, and one of the clients, that she was sexually abused in the jail, the juvenile system here in Richmond. It was a big old thing. So my mind instantly went to that, and I was like, no, somebody needs to get her. So Janine was like, they took her to Janine's house, and then I actually got back the next, but I was in this place of like, what do I do? Like, can I just hop on a plane now and get there? Like, it was an awful feeling. So there was that. And now she has these 2 charges of underage drinking and past curfew. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. So we fast forward. We talk about it and everything. So she had snuck out of her brother's place. So then we fast forward, and we are in March right now, and I came here. And so I want to say this was just in January. Yeah, sometime in January, I think. I don't know. I guess it doesn't even really matter, but it was just recently. And we still haven't had the court date of that because of COVID. Everything's pushed back and all of that good stuff, right? So she wasn't going nowhere. You ain't fucking going nowhere. Ain't nobody coming over here either. So then she asked, she said her friend, one of her friends like I know, and the mom wants, can she go to the park? She's like, I'm not asking to spend the night. And I said, okay. So you start to kind of ease up a little bit to, start to build distrust, or can you build it? because I'm like, I don't trust her, right? So let's just the bills in there. I got your location, blah, blah, blah. So that was the one day. So then the next day she says, can she spend the night here? And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. She can spend the night here. So let her spend the night. She stays the night. And now we're at the next day. And now we're down the next day. She's, her friend's still there. And we're down to like the nighttime. And I went to the store. I go to the grocery store and I get these things and I come back and she's standing in the doorway of her room and she's talking. And I was like, oh, because she had asked me to get her some chips. She texted me, can you pick me up such and such chips? So that's cool. So I was like, Destiny. And like I call her name and I was like, she's like, huh? And I was like, her chips in there. And when she turned and she looked at me, I looked at her and I said, you gotta be fucking kidding me. She was drunk. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And I was like, yo, tell your friend she gotta go now. Call her mother and she needs to go now. I'm furious, but I'm talking very low because her friend is there and I ain't even going front. I ain't trying to spaz out on her in front of her friend, not because I don't want to embarrass her. I ain't even trying to come at that from myself. And she's like, what are you talking about? Oh my God, I'm sorry, guys. Let me pause. We actually are in Virginia prior to this, and we're at my mom's house. And she spent the night at her friends. I'm thinking I don't have anything to really necessarily like worry about because like I know her friends here even more and that's great. So she spends the night there. She comes into my mom's house fucking drunk, y'all. Drunk, stumbling. And then she's like, what are you talking about? Mind you, if you meet my daughter, she's not loud. She talks. It actually makes me mad because how low she talks. She's like, what are you talking about? I haven't been drinking. Just test me. Give me the test. Give me the breathalyzer test. I'll take it. I haven't done any drugs, all this stuff, right? So I'm quiet. So I said, Destiny, get the hell away from me or I kick your ass. So I go in there to my mother. I said, Mom, she's drunk or she is high. And I was like, and you better go in there before I hurt her. So my mother goes and my mom, can recognize all of that as far as being drunk and like with drugs. And my mom has, and this is nothing that she hasn't, shared. My mom was like, on drugs before, had an addiction and overcome that. So she's like, look, I can recognize this shit. I can recognize when you're drunk. And that was the case like with her. So I'm not saying she's like, test me. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, does she not know who her mother is? So I'm entertaining your ass. I get right up. I go to Walgreens. I buy the drug test thing that has a 14 thing. I buy the breathalyzer. I spent like $100 something that was not in my budget, but let's go. Because what you're not going to do is when I'm feeling in tune or I'm seeing something and feeling that something is off, what you're not going to do is make me question my intuition. That you're not going to do. And this is for all like the listeners. That is something that is a disservice that you do to people or someone can do to you, and don't ever allow that to happen. If you feel like something is off and someone is saying, no, don't go that route. If you feel like something is off, trust that shit because our intuition will never lie to us. And when you start to question yourself of that sort, right? It's kind of like when those guys are like cheating in a relationship or vice versa, maybe the woman, or even if the friendship, you be like, I don't know, I just feel like things are off between us. Like, did I do something? Is something going on? You're like, no, don't fucking lie. Don't lie, because what you're doing is causing that person to not trust themselves and know that feeling that they're having. And then when they're in a life or death situation or another serious situation, they don't know if they can trust themselves. So don't do that. I'm like, that you're not going to do. You're not going to have me questioning, am I seeing something? Am I bugging? What's going on? Not like I smoke alcohol or nothing like that, but I'm like, yo, something's not right. I know my child. So I go and I get this test and I go into the bathroom and I'm like peeing this shit, blowing this thing right here. So the alcohol thing comes back that she was drinking, which I already knew that shit. But so when I show it to her, she's like, what? And I'm like, go to fucking sleep and sleep that shit off. Right. And I'm tight at this point. I'm like, oh my God. So that's there. So that was actually before what happened in Arizona. Right. So then she's asked, tell your friend she got to go. Call her mother. Tell her to call her mother. She got to go. Cause I'm like, I'm about to hurt this girl. And I'm like, Destiny, get out of my face because I'm about to hurt you. Seriously, at this point, get out of my face. She's like, no, you're just making me so mad. I understand I messed up one time, but da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I know her. First of all, she don't even talk that loud. She don't even talk like that loud. So I'm like, when is your friend leaving? So here it's like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 p.m. She's coming. She has 6 p.m. 7 p.m. Why your friend still here? Why is she still here? Yo, matter of fact, I'm gonna drop her off. So I'm like, why? Oh, her mom's on her way now. And this is the girl that she's been spending the night. She's been spending since last year. She spent the night at my house. Destiny spent the night over at her house. She spent the night at my house more. So then I'm like, something's not right. Why hasn't her mom? And they go, no, why hasn't her mom picked her up yet? It's just something's not right. Intuition kicks in, right? I'm like, something's just off about this. So then Destiny's like, oh, she's on her way here. So then she sends me a text message. So she sends me a text message. I'm just in the next room. And she sends me a text message and she's like, her mom is downstairs. I'm going to go downstairs now with her. But I was in the bathroom when she sent me the message. So then I came out of the bathroom. And when I came out of the bathroom and picked up my phone, I seen she had sent me the message. So it just didn't feel right. So I texted her back and I said, what do you need to go down there for? And she was like, to help her take her stuff down, which makes sense. Wouldn't be out of the ordinary. She's like, and to say hi to her mom. Also, it makes sense. So I texted her right back and I said, Destiny, I was like, you better not leave. Something told me to say, you better not leave. And she was like, I won't. And I sat there and I went to the bathroom to get some tissue and something did not feel right. My intuition was like my stomach was hurting and was like really, really loud. And I threw my shoes on and I went downstairs. She was gone. She was gone. There was no car. There was no nothing. This is all from the time she sent the first message to me going downstairs, all in a matter of like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And I go back upstairs and in her doorway, there was a piece of paper and it said, I'm sorry, Mom. I love you. Your life will be better without me in it. And I'm like, my heart drops. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this shit can't be real. Where was my message? Where was my guides? Why didn't you? What? And I'm like, what do I do? I'm literally like, what do I do? So I call my son because he doesn't live with me in Arizona. Like he has his own place. And I'm like, Destiny left. I was like, I'm coming to get you because you got to go with me to look for her because I don't want to be doing this by myself and I don't know where I'm going. I don't even know Arizona. And my son has been like all through it, but Arizona is big. So I'm on my way to go get him. And I'm talking to my daughter at the time. I'm like, she fucking left. Like she left this note. And then I'm like, just give me the number to the non-emergency number or whatever to the police. So I call the police and they walk me through and they say, well, we're going to have an officer come out to you now. Can you go back home? So I didn't even get to my sons. I was like, all right, I'm going to turn back around. So now I have these cops there and they're like, can we see the note? And they're asking me for her friend's name and her friend's address. And I'm so like, don't know what's going on right now. I couldn't even think. And I'm like, I got to go through my phone. I got to get the number. I got to get her address. And when you're looking for something and you're frantic and you're feeling a certain way, like you have a hard time doing that. And then it's like, then when he asked me, he said, what does she have on? Like, describe her. Do you have a picture of her? And at this point, I'm like crying even more because I'm like, is this real? This is what I see on TV. This is where I see Amber Alerts. This is where I see missing child, like not my kid. You go into that mode, right? And I'm giving like the officer all of that stuff. And then at this point, I'm texting her, but she turned her phone off. She turned her phone off. So she know what she's doing. So she turned her phone off and I'm not flipping out. I'm like, Destiny, you need to come back. We can talk about this, because I don't want to push it even more. But then the officers was like, we pinged her phone and it showed the area that she was in, but it's a big area. And when I told my son, he said, that's where she got arrested or picked up, not arrested, but where she got picked up at from when her and her friends were out there. And he said, that's where all like the high school people and stuff like go and hang out. He was like, but it's like big. So we go and we're driving through and everybody's outside and looking at the downtown area and stuff. But she's not old enough to get in there, but I'm looking and there's nothing. And as I'm driving, I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck to do. I'm not in Virginia. I'm in Arizona. I don't know anybody here. I don't have a mob of people. Had this been in Richmond, we're going to fucking turn Richmond the fuck up. You know what I mean? Where I got people all over and everybody's going to be out there looking. Somebody going to see something. I know all her friends and their mothers. We're going to get this, but I'm in Arizona and I'm like feeling helpless and I'm just like praying and I'm saying, just please protect her, just keep her safe, make sure there's nothing. Well, meanwhile, my son is on the phone. He playing inspector, he's like investigator and he goes through like Snapchat and I'm not on Snapchat, right? But she had like blocked him, I guess, on like Snapchat or whatever. And he went through her last like picture on Instagram and everybody that had liked it. He just started DMing all of them. And this one girl was like, I haven't talked to her in a couple of days, but she did just post something on Snapchat. And she posted on Snapchat a picture. She said, hey guys, or a picture, the caption, it said, my mom just kicked me and my friend out and we don't have anywhere to go. Where can we stay? And at this point, I'm like, I'm gonna be honest. I was like, if everything is okay with her, I'm gonna fucking kill this girl. I was like, does she not know that that is a prime thing that you're putting out? First of all, you're lying. Second of all, this is how people get into fucking sex trafficking and shit, because they're gonna prey on your fucking weakness. Oh, I'll give you somewhere to stay. And I'm like, and she fucking knows better. And at this point now, that turned into like anger, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is not even like her. So my son was told, the girl was like, hey, why don't you just message her and say you could stay here and then call us and let us know or whatever. But then the girl was like, okay, but then she never responded back. And I'm like, what the hell? So we're driving around. And then I just got into this place where I just was like, all right, I dropped my son off and I said, there's nothing else I can do right now. I've, messaged her. Everyone's messaged her. I filed a police report. I've drove around. I mean, where else? I was in Phoenix. I mean, I don't know what the hell. And then I was like, the police said that they were going to send the police over to her friend's address that she was with to see, to check and stuff. But I hadn't heard anything back. So we drive over there. It's like 3 or 4 in the morning. And the mom opens the door. And I said, I don't remember what day it was. Say this was Saturday. Say it was a Saturday, right? And me and my son go to the door and ring the doorbell, and she comes to the door, and I was like, hey, is Destiny here? And her eyes just opened big, and she's like, no, aren't they with you? I said, she left. She said, I haven't seen my daughter since Thursday when she ran away. What? So remember earlier when I said her friend spent the night with me and she was with me for 2 nights. So when her friend left the house that day on Thursday to spend the night with me, because I hadn't talked to her mom, there was just in my mind no reason, because this is something they've always done, spent the night there. She ran away and she hadn't seen her. And I'm like, did you call the police? And she was like, no, don't we have to wait like 48 hours? And so at this point, my fucking mind is just blown. I'm like, okay, you're fucking useless at this point. Like, your daughter ran away. She was like, I just assumed that she was with you. Okay. I'm like, alrighty then. So that's when I got to the point. I said, there's nothing else I can do. I don't know what else I can do. Where else am I looking? We had already been riding around for hours and stuff. And I dropped my son off and I just was in the car, and I had this sense of calmness that just came over me. And I felt like it's going to be okay. She's going to be safe. She's going to be safe. I had nothing logical to back that up. Nothing at all. So I go back home. And mind you, this had been hours at this point, has gone by. And I'm at home and I'm by myself. It's just me. And I just get into bed and I'm like, she texts me back. Now her phone is on. And she's saying, no, she's like, I'm just making things harder for you and you don't deserve any of that. And life would just be better if you just didn't have me in it. And I'm like, Destiny, that's not true. Like, I love you. Let's talk about it. Just come home. And she's like, no, like, and just all this back and forth. There's nothing else I can do. I don't know what else to do, right? I can't get her location because whatever she was doing, it wasn't picking it up enough to get the actual location. It was like she would message me, then turn it off and then turn it back on. So I couldn't get her actual location. And then, I'm sleeping. I finally doze off. And then someone's banging at the door. And I'm like, I would jump up, startled. My heart is racing. And I get to the door and I'm like, who is it? And she's like, Destiny. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, are you by yourself? And I don't have a peephole. And she was like, yeah. So in my mind, I am thinking, I don't know who she's with. And if somebody that she's with is forcing her back to the house and could do anything when I open the door. So I open the door and I just crack it a little bit in case somebody tries to do something. I watch a lot of TV, but I'm also like, you gotta just be a little mindful and stuff like that. So I crack it and then I see her. And because I had went into the bathroom, remember, to get like the tissue or whatever, then when they walked, I didn't see them walk out, and she actually had a bag. She actually had packed shit up. And I opened the door and she's by herself and she comes into the house. And, I was like, you gotta sleep in here. And then she got all antsy and she was like, why do I gotta sleep in here? I was like, you know what? That's fine. You can sleep in your room. I didn't want to agitate her even more. And then she ends up leaving like again. So at this point, I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just not even gonna sleep. And this is ridiculous. So then the next day we leave out and we had the best conversation ever. And she is crying. And she said, okay, so let me just update you. What happened was she ended up going to a friend's house. They ended up going to a friend's house. And that friend, thank God for that friend, told her mother what was happening. And then her mother got up and was like, I'm taking y'all home to your parents. Thank God for that parent. That's the type of parent. That's what I would be doing too. So I was like, thank God for her. So she was like, no, y'all not staying here. I'm taking y'all to your parents. Like, just y'all not running away type shit. So she's crying and she's saying, I was there and I didn't want to be out here. And I was looking around and I was thinking about all the messages that you guys were sending me and how loved I am. And she's like, I don't want to be out here. I don't want to be on my own. And she looked at me and she's like, honestly, I'm not even going to be ready at 18. And she's crying. And then she starts telling me, talking about her dad. So the other thing that I didn't tell you was that, so her dad is actually locked up now. And he just recently got locked up 8 months ago. And she has been holding that in with everything else that has been going on. And she says that she talked about how her dad has disappointed her so much that she doesn't trust anybody. So even if she loses a friendship or anything of that sort, she's like, oh, it doesn't matter because I expected you to leave. And then she was like, but it does matter. And she's crying. And then she started talking about her little brothers, and she was saying how she regrets when she was younger and being a brat towards her dad, and now she can't even talk to him. And it was all this stuff around there, and she just dumped it, all. So we're both I'm in there trying to be fucking tough and shit, and not cry and in this sense. But it was such a good conversation, and it was really unfortunate the way that it happened to lead to that conversation. But I see why it happened. That experience had to happen. She had to have that experience. I had to have that experience because here I am helping so many people and teaching the inner child and the connections and all this. And here it is my child is dying inside, right? So the thing is a lot of times, even as a parent, you'll say, how did this happen? It just all of a sudden it just happened. It just came out of the blue and she's acting up and he's acting up. No, it fucking didn't. Nothing ever comes out of the blue. There's always signs. I have been saying this. She's 15. I've been saying this since she was 2. Since she was 2, I have been recognizing signs, but because nothing was actually really ever done, it escalated. So this didn't happen out of the blue. I know exactly where it stemmed from. And then I had put her in counseling and she had counseling. And then that counselor ended up leaving that practice. And me and my mind and us, we just felt like, oh, everything is okay, right? And again, this is before my awakening. Oh, she's fine now. But she wasn't fine. She wasn't fine. She wasn't even given that part to even go even deeper in that sense, right? So we had, like I said, the deepest 2-hour conversation ever. And in that moment, I see how much of a weight and a burden that she has been carrying with her. And 90% of it is not hers. 90% of that was not hers. The responsibility that she was holding, the way she interacts with people, the way she thinks. She told me that she doesn't feel heard. She said she doesn't feel heard and seen. She gave me an example of her older sister, and she said to her sister, she was like, oh, I can have my friends, because she's a lash tech. She said, I can have my friends, give you she's like, I can give you a shout out on TikTok or maybe Snapchat and, for my friends. And then my oldest daughter said to her, she said, now, why would I want your friends to follow me? She didn't mean anything by that in there. She was just saying that. But what my daughter heard was, you're not good enough. Why do I need you to do this for me? And she was like, for her, the fact that she gave me that as an example, and she was like, well, what I was saying was that if she said, my friends aren't getting their lashes done, but my friends have sisters and moms. So she told me she doesn't feel seen and she doesn't feel heard, right? So whenever you don't feel seen and you don't feel heard, you will react in a way to make people fucking see you and make people fucking hear you. And guess what she did? She got drunk. She got picked up by a cop. She ran away. Did I get your attention now? You damn fucking right you did. I hear you loud and clear. And we are going to get through this. Is it going to be easy? No, but we're going to get through this. So, and also in the midst of this that's going on, we now see that she has severe case of anemia, and she has just started her second iron infusion. I mean, talking about low levels, low, very, very, very low. So some of these issues that were coming up when she has to go back to see her hematologist. And so now we're working on her health in there. And she actually starts at the time of me recording this. She starts with her counseling tomorrow. And I'm also once a month, I have her set up with someone such as myself from like a holistic, intuitive standpoint. So she'll have that with also the practical stuff through the counseling, as much as I can help her and I could guide her and take her through these things like I do my clients. But most importantly, I need to be her mom. So I don't need to be the one that's giving here's the activity, let's do this, let's do that. But what I can do is I can reinforce what, her intuitive, gives her or whatever, and then her counselor. But I need to be her mom, and I need to play that role with her. And her dad is very well, aware in everything that is going on and the role that he has played in that. And he is very, like I said, aware and accepting like that responsibility for that portion of that. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. I can't give you an ending because we're still in it, we're still in it. And when you look at it again, if you want to understand who you are and why you do the things you do, you have to revisit your childhood. My daughter is playing it out right now. Luckily and thankfully, I am in a place right now where I'm able to truly recognize it and be able to say, wait a minute, no, what you're not going to do is be 30 and 40 years old going and sitting down and doing work with someone such as myself, because we're going to work on this right now. We're going to work on this right now. So whether if you have a child or you have children, it's super important to talk to them. It's very important to pay attention to the different signs and the things that are popping up for them, and to address them, and to, really communicate with your children, really communicate with them in a healthy way, and understand, right now, a lot of these kids they're carrying a lot. They're carrying a lot of weight. They're carrying a lot of burden. They're holding on to a lot, and they don't know what to do with it. Because at the end of the day, they don't even have discernment yet. So they just only know how it is that they feel, how it is that we made them feel. And the thing is, I say to my kids all the time, I'm like, I apologize if I fucked y'all up. I apologize, and stuff. And, and I even had to say to my daughter, I said, if a part of what's going on with you is me, tell me, let me know if it's me. And she said, no. And she said, it's not. She said, she's like talking about the different things and the stuff with her dad. And the one thing that she did say to me, and she actually has said this to me before, she was like, I know that you love me, but I don't hear you say it. And I explained to her. So instead of getting defensive, which is what I would have done a couple of years ago, I said, fair enough, I get it. And then I started talking about, I said, I didn't hear that. And that's not to give it a pass. I didn't hear that. I didn't have that affection. I didn't have that I love you. And, in that sense, I was like, I didn't have that. So I told her, I said, it makes me feel uncomfortable. When they were little, I love all over them, hug all over them. Like my 10-year-old, I'm even extra with it, but I'm a lot more extra with it with him because I don't want him to ever doubt if his mother loves him. Because I'm going to tell you that shit so much that you're fucking annoyed, right? Because I'm a lot more aware of my upbringing and how it could affect them, and by him still being so young. So when my kids were younger, yeah, I'm loving all of them and like, I love you and all that stuff. But there was some switch or something when they got a certain age, and there's no particular age in my mind that just stopped. But that's something that I got to dig deep in and to understand, where is that at? Where is that coming from? Why is it that I felt uncomfortable? And see, my kids, my oldest two, because my ex-husband's side of the family is all like lovey-dovey, I love you. They could see you 5 times in one day and they still gonna tell you that they love you, and they gonna still give you a kiss on the cheek. And I'm like, y'all are weird. But they're not weird. And I tease them and stuff. They're not weird. That's how they were raised. So even like with their dad, like they're like that. And I'm not, and I wasn't. So they did get that. But the oldest two got that. And they have that firm part because they're being around them, so much. So even now with it, like with my oldest, she's like, hi, Mom, I love you. I love you. So I say it back, but there's still a part of me that feels uncomfortable. And anybody that knows me knows, like, my kids are my fucking life. I got pregnant at 16. So I grew up quick. I grew up very quick and, and raised my children. So of course I love my children. I'll do anything for them. And actually, I think I do too much. Had to step back like, whoa. I'm sitting here trying to learn y'all lessons for y'all, and that's not my place. Y'all got to learn those lessons. But there's that part, that disconnect, to make me feel uncomfortable, in that sense of saying it. And I appreciate her even saying that to me, right? And she was like, that's it. She was like, you taught me so much, and you done and these things. And I'm like, okay. And I was ready for it. I was ready for it if she was to say, because I'm not going to put it all off on her dad unless that's what, it is that she's fully saying. Like, and I'm like, you can tell me. You can tell me this. And she's like, no, it's not. And she just opened up and just shared, really just shared a lot with me. So it was I've been through a lot of things in my life. I've had my back against the wall. When I had my son, my youngest, they didn't think he was going to make it. I didn't even get to hold him because they had to rush him to ICU. And that shit was scary. I've just, my best friend died and I just felt like the fucking world was crazy. I've gone through, like breakup with like my youngest, son's dad, someone who I'm just like, how can like you be the person that like I love the most, but also the one who hurt me the most? But like, this is so confusing. And I've been through all of those things and just super just painful and just sad and just angry and confused. But to read a note from your daughter to say that your life will be better without me and I love you, and just to leave and not know where she's at, not know if she's safe, not know if she's eating, not know if she's being abused, if she's being a part of sex trafficking. And that's not even being dramatic, because that shit is fucking real. It is real. And it's also heavy in Arizona. It is real. And to know that I'm going to sleep right now and not to know if my daughter is alive and well or dead, that was the worst fucking feeling ever as a mom. Like, that shit was crazy. And my mom, I told my mom, and my mom's all the way in Virginia, so now I can only imagine how she feels. She told me, she said she felt helpless. There was nothing she could do. She wasn't even there. It's not even she could just even feel like she's walking around or driving or something. Like, what the hell? That was some crazy shit. That was some crazy, scary shit. And I'm in the midst of all of this, and I still have my sessions, Actually, that next day, that night, I think I had 2 sessions, and I still, had to show up for them. And yeah, you can sit here and think like, oh no, you got to cancel that. Had she had not come home and there, I'm pretty sure I would have been just shut everything down, in that space. And I look back and I said, man, I've been through a lot of things in my life, but that shit right there, I don't ever want to experience it again. And I said to her, what just happened can never happen again. She was like, I know. And I was like, seriously, that could never happen again. And I remember just thanking my guides and just thanking God and just like that protection. And when I was driving home from after dropping my son off, that's when I had that sense of it's gonna be okay. But I didn't have anything logical, because everything logical said that shit wasn't okay. Your daughter's not here, so how could anything be okay? You don't even know where to look. You can't even trace on her phone and get her location. You don't even know where to go. What are you doing? There's nothing logical that said she was gonna be okay. But that sense of that feeling came over and was like, it's gonna be okay. It's going to be okay. And I had to hold on to that. As much as it was a battle and I wanted to get all logical in my head and just be like, no, it's not. Like, you got to figure out something else to do. I had to lean on that faith and to say, I got to keep her safe, man. Yeah, I got to keep her safe. And I just kept saying, I know it's her journey. And I know it's her process. I know that is. I'm like, but please just keep her safe. Please keep her safe. And I don't know if I've ever like prayed and asked for that protection so hard before throughout so many things like in my life and as I've been on this journey, So talk to your children. Be mindful of things that you say, right? Be mindful of the disappointment that's being put on these children when you're not intentionally doing it. If you're going to say that you're going to do something, do your best to do it. And if you can't, really have a conversation and explain. And that was something that built that foundation for her of that disappointment. And this is coming out of her mouth. There was that disappointment. Oh, I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you. And then never come. And now she was like, and now she said, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust them. I expect that. And then what she said was that she looked at the women that was in his life and she said, I don't want to be them. So now she doesn't get it. She's not getting it. So in her mind, I'm not getting attached to a boy. I'm not, and she's 15, but let's be real. I was fucking pregnant at 16. So even just in her mind, this state was, she said, I don't want to be like the women that dad dates. What? She's 15. And she's already in her mind. So she's like, I'm not going to be close to anyone. I'm not going to get attached to anyone. So look, with our children, that foundation, we're laying that foundation for them. We're laying that foundation for them. By the things that we say, the things that we do, the things that we don't do. And if you don't have children, and even if you do have children, you need to step back and look at your life and look at the decisions and the choices that you were making. And my 15-year-old calls it the loop. And you doing the same thing over and over and over, always in that same, stuck in that pattern, that loop, and really step back and say, wait a minute. I need to reevaluate some things. And you go back to your childhood and you look at how you're feeling right now and you ask yourself, have I ever felt like this before? See the memories that start to pop up, the stories in your head that start to pop up. And you can start to make the connection between there. That I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. Nobody wants me, right? I can't trust anybody. But you know why? Because if you say that you can't trust anybody, then you won't get disappointed. Then you won't be hurt and you won't feel less than. So I'm not even going to get close to nobody. Keep everybody at a distance. And then when you feel like you aren't seen and you feel like you aren't heard, the universe validates the fuck out of that. Not to punish us. It's because whatever we believe. And if you believe that you're not being seen and you believe that you're not being heard, the universe is going to validate that. Right? We actually set an appointment with we set an appointment with an intuitive for her, right? And then she rescheduled the appointment. And well, no, she said she was going to call her and then she didn't call her. And then when she said, I'm sorry, we rescheduled, I'm going to call you, she didn't call her. And at the second time, when we were in the car, my daughter looked at me and she said, she really needs to take me more seriously. Because guess what was happening? She wasn't being seen. She wasn't being heard. She wasn't being taken seriously. And that's how she's seen it. Now, the person on the other end, was that their intentions? Of course not. But that's what she felt and that's what she heard, because that is a core belief of hers. That is part of her foundation, that she's not being seen, she's not being heard. So let me get somebody's attention. Let me drink now, right? And let me be loud. And let me run away. Now, is that what she was thinking? And she's saying no. But coming from that deeper place, that's what it is. It's like, hey, I'm here. I'm here. See me. Hear me. Now, even though I'm around her and we watching TV and we having conversations and we walking to go get food and doing all that stuff, she's not being seen and heard the way that she wants to. And that's with her dad. That's with her dad. So as much as I'm all up in her face and we are around each other, because shit, it's just me and her. When my youngest son is in Virginia, it's just me and her. We used to walk I'm lying about Chick-fil-A, Chipotle. We used to walk there because it's super nice there. We take that walk. We go do all that. We watch TV and all of that stuff. And that's cool. But she wants to be seen and heard from her dad. And then now with him being in jail, it makes it even harder, right? So again, if you want to know why you do the things you do, you have to revisit your childhood. And again, to my parents out there, really check in with your kids. So last week episode, I said, make sure that you're checking in with yourself. Check in with your kids, but check in with them to the point that they give you more than I'm okay, I'm good. No, let's have a conversation. Well, what about your day is okay? What about your day is not okay? How is it that you're feeling? Tell me 2 emotions right now that you're feeling. Create that dialogue. Have that healthy communication. Because our kids are out here holding on to so much stuff and carrying our things, and that's not cool. We think things are heavy for us. Things are heavy for them as well. Again, they don't have discernment. They don't know. The only thing that they know is how they feel. That's it. It's how they feel. And that's the same thing with us. We don't want to feel like we felt when we were a child or in that particular situation. So we throw the gatekeeper up. Anxiety, depression, people pleasing, fear, shut down, right? So many things that we throw up so we don't have to feel like that. non-attachment. I'm not getting attached to nobody. I said in my next lifetime when I come back, if I get to choose, and I'm like, of course I get to choose, but where I was like, yo, I don't want an attachment to nobody. I don't want to have kids. I don't want to have a best friend. I just want to just backpack across the world, just doing my thing. And why? Because I don't want to feel the hurt and the pain that I felt in my 40 years, throughout my 40 years. And I'm like, I don't want to feel that again. And that's what happens with us now. We don't want to feel that. And when we don't feel something, we don't heal. And when we don't heal, we hurt ourselves and we hurt other people. And then the loop and the cycle keeps going and going and going and going and going. So, thank you guys for listening to me share this really deep part, this deep experience that I just recently had, and to share my daughter's experience with her permission. It's important. And I don't know why. I just know that I was driving in the car, because I'll be honest with you, I don't want people in my business. I don't want to tell them this. Yeah, I share some things with you guys and talk and stuff, but I'm like, I don't want to tell you this. Why would I do that? But when Spirit speaks, I listen. So for whatever reason or reasons, I was meant to even share this with you guys. I'm sending love over it. Again, I don't know why. I don't know if someone's going through this or have gone through that or anything of like that sort. I don't know. And if I'm meant to find out because you guys reach out and you share, great, I'm going to welcome it. And if not, I'm going to welcome that as well. And I'm just sending love to, for whatever reason, I was meant to get on here and to be vulnerable, be transparent, and to really just share, a part of myself that only 4 people know about. I'm happy to do it because I trust in Spirit. And honestly, I'll keep you guys updated as I go through this journey, as she goes through this journey. And maybe one day I'll have her actually, she'll be okay and she'll say, yeah, I'll get on the podcast with you, just so you guys can hear from her and just hear from a teen, especially if you have children, just to really hear it like out of there. I don't know. I can just sit there and just say, like, I don't know. I'm just going to allow things to, to flow, allow a more awareness, a more accountability. And, man, this is a journey, y'all. Remember what I said? I said this a lot of times before. Healing is not linear. It's not a one size fits all. Experiences are all different. All of us are the exact same. We just have different challenges, right? We just have different things that we go through. And, experience is the greatest teacher. And I remember one point sitting here thinking and stuff, and I said, how am I out here helping hundreds of people? No cap. Hundreds of people in the past 3 years with their healing journey, their journey to connecting to themselves deeper, their journey of understanding God and spirit and the universe and working with angels and working in the spiritual realm and dealing with the trauma. And my daughter is going through this right now. She was actually drinking in my home. What? And in that moment, I said, wait a minute, I'm acting like a narcissist right now. Why am I making it about me? Why am I making it about me? And then I became grateful for the self-awareness that I have in the space that I am and how many people that I have helped through different things. The difference is that they're older now and dealing with those things. And I said, wait a minute, Spirit, you equip me with the tools. You equip me with the empathy. You equip me with the experience. So now I'm able to come from a different place for her. So while I went through that phase of being upset and all, Like, I knew to not text her going off. I knew to say, wait a minute, what would cause someone to do this? What would cause a 15-year-old to want to drink and to run away? What are you running away from? Yourself? And that was a conversation that we had. She's running away from herself. She's running away from her shadow. And you will never outrun your shadow. Your shadow is a part of you. And I said to her, and now we work to integrate it. The light and the dark. And there's power in that. And there's healing in that. So, I love you guys. Until next time, bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Seeing with Your Soul. If something you heard resonated with you, feel free to rate, review, and share with others. If you are looking to go deeper, you can connect with Tisha Michelle on Instagram at Mindset Slayer or visit www.healingalignglow.com.